guys, what is up? Welcome back to the KAM Racing Podcast. I am Matt. This is AJ. We are the hosts of this show. That was also a terrible intro, but we're just gonna slide right past it. Yeah.
We need
So
to work on these like cold starts, you know what I'm saying?
for sure, definitely, it's just like racing, right? You gotta,
If we could have just clicked play like 2 minutes ago
yeah,
and then just kept rolling with it.
yeah. We could have done that. Just gotten loose with
No, it
that.
was all good. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in.
Def-
Glad you all are watching, and we got some racing to talk about.
Yep, definitely got some racing to talk about. So tonight's kind of podcast schedule will go sort of like this. It'll start with some Formula One, followed up by a couple just odds and end conversations with that, and then going right into IndyCar, touching on the Thermal Club this past weekend and a couple other things, and then gonna touch on a little bit of NASCAR after the IndyCar. And then I think from there, because obviously there's not much going on with the Sports Car Championship this week or this past week, um, yeah, we're probably not going to touch much on IMSA, but we're going to jump straight from NASCAR into sim racing. So we've got quite a lot of stuff to talk about the sim racing stuff. So we'll try to make sure we hit it all this evening. But it's been a pretty crazy week for the sim racing community,
It has, it has. We have a lot to talk about on that front for sure. But
for
we'll
sure.
start it off with the real world.
Heck yeah. All right. So, jumping right into it with the Formula One. Um, we'll go with the biggest headline, obviously. Red Bull. Red Bull blew it for the first time in literally 2 years. The last DNF was, I think, Australia in 2022. So, crazy. Um,
It is. We haven't seen reliability issues from them in, like how you said, 2 years there, at least from Max's car.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
something about that place they don't like. They don't like his car.
Right. I think everyone was pretty excited. I mean, obviously you don't want to see anyone go out of the race, but we were excited to see some really good racing, and that's exactly what it brought. Max went out the race, what, 3, 4 laps in, and then it kind of, I think it was one of the more exciting races we've had in the past year, maybe. I mean, it's been pretty
Yeah,
boring.
yeah. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Since I think you saw a little bit more than I did, with
Yep.
Checo, what was his race like?
So Checo did not have a good race, and you would think actually, with Max going out early, it would have been like light bulbs. He would have been like, "Oh my God, I'm about to win this race." You know what I mean? He's in the next best car on the grid. So ultimately, no, he fell short in pace. I think I'm not sure if he just couldn't get the car hooked up. They went the wrong way with the setup or whatever, but he ended up finishing like P5 or P6. Um,
Oh,
Nowhere near a podium position. And when it came to pace, he was just not there on track. I think the only reason he even finished in the top 10 was because he was in the Red Bull. Um, so, it'd be like that. Max wasn't there, or I mean, obviously Max went out. Checo wasn't there to pick up the pieces. Um, also going, right off of that, I was expecting to see Lando Norris and McLaren kind of be immediately there to pick up the pieces. You seen the team decision early on to swap drivers. Piastri was in the P3, Lando Norris was in P4. Norris had like 5 lap younger tires. So they swapped cars and it didn't really get anywhere. I mean, he pretty much didn't gain any ground and didn't fight. So the front four were pretty much locked in, I would say, after that team call. Um, yeah, it's kind of disappointing, honestly. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I think we definitely had more hope for the McLaren crew.
definitely.
Um, but it's still early, and Australia is a difficult track. I think temperature gets a lot of cars there, and
Yep.
so maybe that's just something they struggled with. Um, and with Russell, I mean, he was they were
Yeah.
fighting for P3 or fourth, weren't they? For
Uh,
in before he went out.
I think it was like P6, P7.
Oh, okay, it was that far back. Okay.
Correct. So, and that's another team that, is just not seeming to they can't find the pace within the car, um, is
You know
Mercedes.
they've They've always seemed to be parallel in that. When Mercedes does well, it seems like McLaren seemed to get it hooked up a little better too,
Right.
and they both did not at Australia.
Nope. Nope. So whatever that means. And then also, reliability issues didn't just strike the Red Bull; they also struck Lewis Hamilton as well. Lewis Hamilton went out, mid or yeah, early on mid race, and that was like instant. He like went to go shift gears, and boom, engine died, and he couldn't. He was a passenger, so he pulled it over. That caused the VSC. That allowed Fernando Alonso to get a really good pit stop. I think he saved like 7 or 8 seconds was the projected time under the VSC. Um, so he really made out good. And then yeah, let's get into the weird George Russell and Carlos Sainz conspiracy. So hold on, I've got to pull it up on my phone here. Um, so every time George Russell has went out in the race, Carlos Sainz has won, and I've got the exact races here. So Silverstone 2022, which was actually Carlos Sainz's first win. George crashed, Carlos wins. Singapore 2023, George crashes on the last lap, Carlos wins. Australia 2024, George crashes on the last lap, Carlos wins. So that's interesting.
So Carlos just needs George to crash more often.
Yeah, so if George could just crash like 14 out of 24 races, I think we'd
We
have
might have
a
a championship race.
yeah, we might have a new champion at the end of the year.
I don't think George could recover after crashing that many times.
No, I don't think Toto could recover after crashing that many times.
Oh
No,
no.
Mikey, no. Oh shit. Um,
Well, speaking of George crashing, how scary was that?
Honestly, he did well by preventing more damage. I'd say like just the racing driver kicked in him, and he like knew that he was losing the car, so he did get the car slowed down. Ultimately, it was the gravel. He couldn't turn on the gravel. He got the car slowed way down, but he just couldn't get the car turned out of the gravel trap.
Yeah, definitely that ate him up. But just sitting there in the middle of the track, um,
On the last
you know,
lap, you know.
and shouting for a red flag there, that was little scary.
Yeah, or I don't even know if it was the last lap.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was the
At
last
least,
lap.
yep.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
yeah, no, he was kind of sitting sideways up on the kind of a blind corner there in a way. That's a fast
Oh,
right-hander,
yeah.
and that he was sitting on his side there, long ways, not the way you want to be, and someone could have very well came across quickly. Someone did come close, but they had their head on a swivel and knew what was up, but still, fighting on the last lap, sometimes those reactions kind of go out a little bit. You're so focused on pushing so hard in the last lap. Uh, I mean, you're always anticipating a wreck, but that's your most you're at your most tired. Your stamina is at its lowest. Your focus is at the most difficult.
Yeah.
It is a very dangerous moment. I think for George to be in.
Yeah, and you're not wrong about the corner. It is completely blind. For some people who don't know, I'll try to describe it, but basically, you're taking that corner at like 140, 130 miles an hour, and you literally cannot see where you're going until you have reached the entrance apex. And so that's, if you're thinking about it, how fast they're going, they maybe have to a couple milliseconds to really react to that car. So yep, definitely a dangerous situation, but nothing happened, so that's obviously good. Um, Lando Norris gets the podium, obviously because of the team decision made by McLaren. Obviously, they're going to favor Lando. I mean, that's obviously, I guess, not the issue. I guess more the issue here is, there's never been an Australian driver that has stepped foot on the podium. So I feel like they could have let one team call go towards Oscar Piastri. If any team call go toward him this year, it could have been this past Sunday.
You're right. It could have totally been this one, but we all know who Zach Brown's golden boy is, so I think he
This,
made that pretty clear and is making that clear every race.
yeah, I think you are 100% right. Um, Well,
This isn't on the news or on our agenda, but he did sign a new long-term contract. Zach
uh,
Brown.
oh, really? So he's staying with McLaren for a while
Yeah,
then.
yeah. I didn't look too much into it. I don't know how many years it is, but I know it was uh, a long term to stay at his position.
There you guys
So
go. So,
he's not going anywhere.
yep. So Zach Brown will be at McLaren for a while. Hopefully, it'll be enough time to really get them back at the actual front. I'd say
You know
Ferrari.
what it probably was? It was probably until Lando retires.
Probably because they do have some connection like before Formula One.
Yeah,
Like I
they
think,
go like way back. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
something
not
to do
sure the
with
connection,
kart
but yeah,
racing or something. I can't remember exactly, but
some F1 fan somewhere is probably yelling at us through their
yeah,
headphones. It's
probably
these people. They know them. They know that.
right. Um, and then Daniel Ricciardo did not finish above his teammate for the third race in a row, or actually probably more than that, honestly. I mean, I'm not even keeping track of last year, but I just know, this year Yuki is showing up and showing out when it comes to RB, Visa Cash App, RB, Toro Rosso. There we go. Um,
Whoever writes the
so
biggest check.
yeah, I think Liam Lawson. Actually, I did just see earlier on a news thing that Ayuma Owatsu. He's a Formula 2 Red Bull Junior driver. He is actually going to be stepping in for FP1 this coming weekend in Daniel Ricciardo's car. So, because it's at Suzuka, so they will have two Japanese drivers at Suzuka in FP1. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. I that is really cool.
Kind of
For them.
kind of surprised to not see Liam Lawson, but
Is is this so they're going to Suzuka next, is that correct?
yep. So Suzuka
Okay,
got
that's
moved
great.
up in the calendar, so it's now the fourth
Okay.
race.
That's really cool. One thing I saw, which I don't know how true it is they are giving Ricardo an ultimatum here, a two race ultimatum. He's got two to prove himself. Have
Dude,
you heard this?
I have not, but I was literally I don't know if you were in the Discord the other day, but I was literally saying something like this. Like they're sitting back like, dude, you don't have much time. It's make it or
Nope.
break it for you. We've got young drivers in the pipeline ready to get in your seat, basically. Um,
Yeah,
s-
definitely. And someone like Sonoda who is at least kind of found his footing in the car,
yeah,
and Ricardo frankly doesn't get that chance when
no,
he has bounced around and been, he's considered a veteran. He doesn't get that year or two
nope,
to get up to speed here, and Sonoda definitely got that and is proving that he's getting up to speed, and
yep.
Ricardo is just I don't know.
Trickling down the order. I mean,
I
if we're
don't
being
know.
honest,
What is Ricardo? Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge DR3 fan, man. So it's a shame to see, but at the end of the day, Formula World is probably the one of the most cutthroat uh, platforms of racing. There you go.
It is.
Stumbling over my words here, but
But
um,
that's almost plays into Yuki's favor.
it does.
Yuki is such an aggressive driver and he is cutthroat.
Yeah,
Um, if you saw him, he looks like a cute little teddy bear.
yeah. What I
So
think
you
is
just want to go
funny,
play with him.
what I think is funny is like there's a Drive to Survive episode where Daniel Ricciardo's like on Renault or something, and he calls Yuki. He's like, "You're so small." And like fast forward 2024, like you're over here getting your ass whooped by this guy, like
Yeah, yeah.
weekend in and out.
You know what
So
else is small? His lap times.
this is
Boom.
true. I like where you went with that. That was a good save.
What? Oh man, what did you think I was saying?
Ah, I don't know. We're moving on. Moving on. um. So okay, yeah. So I might want to pop this one out just so everyone can read this one. Maybe I can bring it over here. Here we go. So I don't know how well this is being able to be viewed, but
Oh yeah, this
basically,
one. Yep, here you go. Take this away.
Okay, so Susie Wolf, this is pertaining to the information about during the off season and during this past winter, there was a lot of speculation and drama going on about someone saying that Toto Wolf was talking with Susie Wolf, his wife, about confidential information and that she was leaking a bunch of um, very important business information and yada, yada, yada. Well, it ended up not being true. And so this is her saying, and I quote, I can confirm that I personally filed a criminal complaint in the French courts on the 4th of March in relation to the statements made about me by the FIA last December. Um, there has still not been any transparency or accountability in relation to the conduct of the FIA and its personnel in this matter. I feel more than ever it is important to stand up, call out improper behavior, and make sure people are held to account. What some may think silence absolves them from responsibility, it does not. Clearly, she is highly upset about the defamation of their name. Is that the right word? I probably
Yeah,
butchered
yeah.
that too. I don't know.
No, that's what they're getting them on, and I think that's really telling here. Um, you don't do something what Susie's doing without being 100%.
Yeah,
You're not going to pay for these lawyers. You're not going to go through all this process. Um, just over he said she said.
yeah,
She's definitely got the proofs and the facts. Again, I don't really necessarily know the details about this, but you wouldn't go into this without knowing that and having the facts in your court. So I would definitely be scared of if you're scared of Toto,
yeah. Well,
I'd be more scared of Susie.
and like the thing is if anyone has the bank account to take it up against the freaking FIA, it's gonna be the billionaires, uh,
I
the
mean,
Wolf
it's
family. So
yeah, and you know what? Probably something like this is probably going to end up getting settled or thrown out, frankly,
yeah,
and both of those may not resolve Susie, but it will probably just end. It'll end that, and it probably won't go anywhere after that. That's not what Susie wants because she wants uh, she wants accountability, and she might not get that, but she might also like not get the you know, because what they're accusing her of is worthy of like suspending like Toto, isn't it? Like,
um, I think it's to my knowledge, and I haven't read more into this, but I think it's the slander of their name because they're such, you know, powerful people, so to
hmm.
speak. I mean, that's just from what I'm taking on it, and I guess I
So
probably won't comment too much more on.
okay, well, okay, that I just because if she's leaking information, then I gotta imagine that's got it that can't be allowed somewhere. So who's going to
Exactly.
be held accountable for that?
Right.
So
It sounded like someone had put the blame on them.
exactly, and she is biting this in the or getting this knocked out early and quick. Because if it's something like a rumor like this starts to spread and snowball, that's
Yeah,
where she's going to find herself in trouble, and that's why she's taking it to court now.
definitely. Yep. And I mean, good on them. Um, so,
Let's just see if the Wolf lawyers can do something about that
uh,
2021 finish.
so yeah, the I've seen something else about how Lewis Hamilton was potentially going to try Max Verstappen because Felipe Massa is trying him for
Well,
the
we'll see,
2008.
because that's actually going to court too. I cannot believe that. I can't believe that. I don't know how it's even possible.
Yeah, 16 years
But yeah,
later.
we could have a new 2008 F1 world champion.
What a way for it to happen too, right?
Yeah, no, and I don't think there's any way. I mean, I think you could prove them right all day, and they still couldn't overturn it with the whole spin gate. I don't think you could.
Yeah.
You could prove them all right. They
Well,
can't change it. There's no way. If iRacing can't change their results from Wednesday, then they certainly can't change the '08 results, right?
right.
All right, we'll talk about that later.
Yep, you're good. So to round off Formula One, we're gonna jump into the little bit of talk about Albon getting to drive in Sargent's car for this past race. So Alex Albon obviously had a wreck in FP1, which damaged the car. Williams didn't have a chassis, and then obviously they, favoritism of the drivers. They had more faith in Alex being able to at least get closer to the points than Logan would have been able to, and I hate to say it, but Williams is thinking from a team side of things, and they're gonna make the right decision about it. Alex did have a really good race, but unfortunately the car just didn't get in the window that they needed. Um, they were having some serious tire degradation, so what they were having to do was basically box early and get tires, like 5 or 6 laps before anyone around them, and come towards the end of the race that really bit them. So I think the last 10 laps they lost like 4 or 5 positions, which really, I mean, obviously hurts because you know they only had one car, but they were already on the back foot going into this weekend. So it's kind of one of those things where the weekend's behind you. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, they're definitely a team that needs the two cars on the track for data purposes.
Yep.
If they would have seen that Logan was having maybe tire issues or vice versa, they could have played off those two and split the strategies a little bit. So yeah, that definitely puts Albon on the back foot for the strategies in the race. Definitely unfortunate. Albon wrecks a car in practice, and or was it practice or
It was
qualifying?
practice.
Okay, yeah, it was in practice, and then Albon gets in Sargent's car. That's definitely unfortunate. The only thing I'm going to say about that is it's a shame that they don't have a backup car. It's hard for me to believe that one of the 10 teams in F1 doesn't have a backup car, even though they're in Australia. I don't really see how that's possible, and how that can also be in the same world as the FIA saying that Andretti Global is not worthy enough to be in F1.
But
I
you
find
have
that
teams over here who don't even have a spare chassis.
you don't have a backup. Are you
Within
kidding me?
within the new cost cap regulations, that's absurd, isn't it?
Just a little bit, a little ironic, and a little ironic that it's the American that gets the short end of that stick too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, I've heard a lot of talks that Andretti could be buying Alpine. They could, I guess they were throwing offers at Gene Haas. Um,
Dude, if I was Andretti, I'd be sending letters and emails and phone calls to every single F1 team out there. No, no, no. He's got to deal with Cadillac, and that's what's happening. He doesn't want to buy a team.
yeah,
He wants to bring his own in here, and I think that just is more of the credit to him. If he buys a team, that just gonna I think it's gonna make it harder and take away part of it being Andretti. It takes a long time for that to kind of settle in, as new ownership and stuff like that. So no, Gene can keep his dumpster fire. I'm fine with that.
right.
That is not an American team. So I don't care what y'all tell me. That's not. I want a real American team in there with real American drivers, and I want to see what they can do against these guys. And if it's 22nd, 23rd, then I will concede, and then that's what it is.
Sure,
I can live with that. But you can't just keep making up your own rules to keep all the others out here. Like Andretti's did everything he's that they've asked, and with more, with and some. So I don't understand. They're really just trying to keep them away, and this is just embarrassing. How, like I said, one of their teams doesn't even have a backup at a race where it's a high speed street course. Like, you really didn't expect someone to go off. Like, this is not a like it's not a Silverstone or Barcelona or a somewhere where they go to a ton for practice and testing. Like,
yeah.
this is
Tons of
a street
runoff,
course.
right.
Yeah, that has gravel that eats the car and walls at every corner. So, okay, like, these are supposed to be the smartest guys in the world, right?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense. And just to touch on that real quick, Andretti was actually the only he was the only entry out of the 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 entries to do everything right. So that's just a little bit more salt on the wound. Um, that he was the only one out of everyone who had all their ducks in a row, and he still did not get accepted. But I think that's a complete topic for another day.
Sounds good.
Moving on. All right, we're gonna jump into some IndyCar. Um, I do, of course. Okay, I'm gonna have to get up real quick because I think the first one I wanted to pull up the news link about Laguna Seca
Sure
and
thing. Yeah, this is a silly but necessary
right.
topic. Oh yeah, the gosh, I don't know. The people that live near the track,
Here we go.
let me see here. Let me get the right name.
The County of Monterey Department of Public Works.
Thank you.
All good.
Um, so yeah, they pretty much filed a lawsuit against the track, a noise complaint essentially, and it pretty much just came down to agreeing to actually put up the appropriate sound mitigation measures that was all already planned previously, just never
Never put
done.
in place.
So like this
Yeah.
was kind of silly to me. I don't understand what all this
Yeah.
was really about. We couldn't just been like, hey, yeah, like remember guys, you said you were gonna do this. Can you just kind of do it?
Yeah. So that's
That's that's probably what has been happening. And then they had to be like, okay, no, we're serious. So
yeah.
here's our lawyers, and it
Yeah.
made a bunch of news headlines and made Laguna probably look pretty bad.
Well, what it
But
was
it's not
is
going anywhere. It's not
whoever
going anywhere.
whoever was running the show was just like, hey, they'll never know. We can just like paint these over here the same fucking color, and they'll never know, and we can save like 70, 80, $100,000
You know, and tracks do that.
for
Tracks
sure.
do all they can do to cut corners and try to save as much money as they can. But
Yep.
if you got unhappy neighbors, they can make your life a living hell. So let's put up those sound mitigation measures and let's make some friends, not enemies. Let's get those people to the track and enjoy the race versus having them complain
Right.
that you're not listening.
Yeah. As you guys know, or you may not know, the IndyCar Thermal Club happened this past weekend out in California. It was the $1 Million Challenge held at the it is the Thermal Club Raceway, right? That is the name of
I
it.
believe that's what it's called.
Yeah, so it was held there in California, and not bad.
Hello, Polo, the big winner,
Yeah,
taking home $500,000. You might
fucking
be
money.
wondering, you're calling this the $1 Million Challenge, but you just said that Polo walked away with 500,000. Where is the rest of that money going? To the rest of the drivers.
Yep.
It was very oddly split up, in my opinion. It was pretty much the top six guys got a pretty good payout. Um, three was it 350 to second place Scott McLaughlin, and like 250 I want to say to um Felix Rosenquist,
Mhm.
and then it got down to like sixth place, and then pretty much everyone behind six all got like 23.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I don't know. I don't understand how that was all arranged. The feedback I heard from a lot of drivers is a little more money would be nice, but having it a little more evenly split up as well would be nice. I saw Ed Carpenter say, you know, VK took home the same amount of money that Linus Lundqvist took home, and Linus Lundqvist was one that made the feature race. So that was a little just, you know, awkward there. VK didn't even finish a lap in the heat race.
Mm,
So yeah, the payout was weird.
yeah. Well, at least you tried, right?
Yes, no, at least they tried. There's a lot of mixed reactions about the race. Personally, I am not a fan of the gimmicks,
Yeah.
and we definitely saw it. I think it's a little ironic that Scott Dixon was the one that gave that first lap incident the drama. tagging Grosjean, and then Grosjean naturally being Grosjean,
Yeah.
not too happy, um, showing his frustration, being walked back to the pit box by the AMR safety crew and kind of giving them a little piece of his mind when they did that. That wasn't too nice. You can see his frustrations for sure. It just this kind of racing promotes that or this sort of style of racing, this heat racing, racing for this $500,000, no points, all that kind of stuff. It promotes that kind of racing, and so that's I think they kind of got what they asked for there. Um, Not only that, on a first lap incident, they also got what they asked for in Colton Herta playing chess when everyone else was playing checkers.
Yep.
Um, there was a 20 lap feature race, but 10 laps into that, we're going to throw the yellow flag and bunch them all up again. You can refuel, so you can, properly fuel the car to 10 laps to let you race hard for those 10 laps, but you can't change tires. Okay, well, if you do that, then why should I race in those first 10 laps? If I'm going to have the same tires going from the first 10 to the second 10, but I'm going to be able to refuel, well, I'm just going to pitter patter back down here in the back and try to race hard in the second race, which I think panned out pretty well. For Herta, where did he end up finishing fourth, I believe? I had it right here in front of me.
Mm,
I'm just seeing the heat races here.
I think he did finish fourth.
Yeah, so it did end up panning out somewhat. McLaughlin and Pillow just had the cars hooked up and they just pulled away. So for some reason, yeah, their tire wear and their pace just they had it all figured out. But watching Colton in that second, what do you even call that? Like the second half of the feature.
Yeah.
So it was fun watching him move up, but it was not fun watching him drop 40 seconds in the first 10.
Yeah.
So, no fault on Herta, but they were just playing the game as shown. But they got what they asked for here. You want gimmicks, you put on a gimmick, you get a gimmick, and that's what Herta was doing.
Yep. I mean, good on him. He obviously read the rule book. Um, like other racers we know this week, read the rule book.
It's
We'll get into.
important. I guess that's the tip of the week. Read between the lines.
Yep. Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Stay tuned for later in the video. We've got something in treat. No, I'm just kidding. So, yeah, he definitely, yeah, I agree with you. It wasn't fun watching him lay back, but at the end of the day, a driver is going to try to take advantage of any opportunity they can. So it's kind of like you said, I just brought a gimmick. So, uh, let's see. We got
We can,
anything else for IndyCar?
I think we can wrap that up there. Yeah.
Okay.
We can touch a little bit on NASCAR, not too much on that front
Okay.
from our end, frankly. Willie B did take the W. I think he had the pole too, so that was pretty impressive.
I
I think
actually,
this. Go ahead.
I have the results right here. I'll pull them up on stream.
So yeah,
Uh,
okay, you can see these results, but I want to make something very clear that this doesn't show the amount of X's that these drivers picked up during this race. Steve Bell, I am very confident in saying he at least had 16 X's in this race, probably more. But
Holy
I think
cow.
he hit everybody named Kyle in this race. He he hit Larson once, he spun him out, and he also took out Bush later in the race, and Bush got in his face in pit road after and let him know that he was not too happy. And I think he taught him how to count too. He said one, two, and three, and Bell shook his head, and then Bush walked away.
Wow.
Yeah, Bush isn't
Taught him
someone who you want to piss off.
taught him how to count. That is classic. That
But
is,
you like that?
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Willie B, sim racer to real life freaking champion, dude. That's awesome. That's really
Yeah,
awesome to
no,
see.
he's having another great season. Those 100 cars just, gosh, they know how to win everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah, it looks like the oh yeah, the number 97 was assessed a 30-second penalty for shortcutting the course at the end of the race. So,
SVG.
scored with a
SVG. Okay, so I guess, I shouldn't complain about F1 cultivating rules directly towards Americans because I think us Americans might do that to foreigners as well here. Because if you watch the race, you would probably say there was no such thing as track limits. They were cutting every damn corner everywhere, and then after the race, SVG gets a time penalty for cutting the course. I didn't see it. I don't know what he did or what made that or what deserved that penalty, but I'm halfway joking, halfway serious about like the track limits are definitely a joke at Coda.
especially in the cup car.
Yeah, well, in the cup car, yeah, in the
Yeah,
cup car, it's a joke.
yeah.
So I know they did penalize Chase Elliott in the Cup race for cutting one of the S's. So that was, from my understanding, was the S's were strict. Like, okay, so if you cut that course, it was like you got penalized from like I don't know corner 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe. And then but there was other ones that weren't. So each corner was officiated differently, which I guess I don't know. I don't know. As a driver, that doesn't make sense to me. You tell me I can cut this one, but not that one. That doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make sense. Huh.
There's a lot of things NASCAR does that doesn't make sense to me, but
Right.
yeah.
Oh well. Uh, I think that was really it on the NASCAR. Oh no. NASCAR and Zandvoort have been informally exploring a possible overseas event. Is that a gimmick?
Full disclosure, this is from NASCAR Reddit.
Oh yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that face, that reaction was good.
Disclosure.
Yeah, yeah. But no, apparently someone is talking to the people in Zandorf about running some NASCARs over there. I
How
feel like,
ins that would
go
be
ahead.
I mean, how insane would that be?
Well, I mean, I just feel like there's other places they would go to before they go to Zandorf.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they would go there. I don't know the connection, I guess. Is there a
Uh,
connection there that I don't know?
ah, it's over my head if there is.
Does Zandorf have like that really high banking?
They do, but it's not an oval. Z-
Well, they go, well, look at the banking. NASCAR should go here. I don't know.
Look at the banking. Medica.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
Medica.
yeah. Gupgar.
Cup car.
We are offending so many people right now.
So
I'm
it's
just
the
kidding. There's only 4 people watching.
right. We're also part-time comedians, guys. If you
We should keep our day job.
we should keep our day jobs. I'm not saying this is going anywhere, but um all right. So yeah, so this past week in the sim racing world has been a doozy. From the 12 hours of Sebring all the way to the IndyCar Open iRacing series on Wednesday. Um, I guess where should we cut the cake? Which should get the first slice?
Yeah, we should, I guess, maybe talk about IndyCar iRacing first. That happened on
Sure.
Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central for me. That is the iRacing IndyCar series that takes place every week. It follows the real life IndyCar series. So them being at Thermal Club this week, uh, put iRacing in a situation which that they're not unfamiliar with. One where a real life series is at a track that is not in the game, and they tend to fill that in with whatever they feel is the best appropriate. And being in California, I think it was the right decision to put Auto Club.
Yep.
on the schedule. IndyCar used to race there. It's California, Southern California. It's it adds an additional oval to the iRacing IndyCar series. I did see one thing that said that Long Beach was supposedly on the plans for that, but that doesn't make sense because it would then it'd be on there twice. But I heard that it was a late move, a late change to put Auto Club here. I don't know if I believe that. I think it was always supposed to be Auto Club. Whatever.
Mhm.
Beside the point, what ended up happening was quite interesting and can only be broken down to as a bug and a mistake, an oversight, yeah, just something that was overlooked in iRacing, where when they made the new Formula license, when they split the new Formula and road, the road they split the road license into a Formula and sports car.
Mhm.
They labeled the IndyCar as a Formula car, which I think is correct. However, the IndyCar is probably the most versatile car on the system. They race
Definitely.
on just as many ovals as road. Well, when you race IndyCar on ovals, that has always been in the past um, gone to your oval I rating and your oval safety rating. Well, for some reason, that little bug was not fixed, and so when that Formula car entered an oval race, it had to meet Formula rules.
Yep.
And Formula rules, at least for IndyCar road rules, are you must change tire compounds in your race before you finish. Otherwise, you will be disqualified.
Yep.
Now, in an oval race, that is physically impossible.
Yeah, like they don't give you the option to change tires.
You don't even have the option.
No. Or obviously you can change tires, you just can't change the compounds.
Right, right. You're pretty much with the quote primary tire.
Right.
You're not allowed to use the sticker reds as they call them.
Mhm.
Those are road course tires only.
Yep.
Well, as you made in your short there, you said it pretty well. This was something that about 98% of people who participated in this race did not catch.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is at the top of the page on iRacing, when you're in that race, it did say compound swap. And on the rules, when you pull them up on the left, it said compound swap required.
Yep.
Uh, now, knowing that, there's two different types of mindset, I think, going into that race. Then you can either think, okay, well, I'm in this race, like I'm just going to race like any other race, or am I going to get disqualified? Like, what are you going to do? So what ended up happening was 150 laps at Auto Club is a long time in an IndyCar.
Yeah.
And there, I think, was another little bug on the grip levels too at Auto Club. I saw a
Dude.
lot of people complaining about that. So the race was very intense.
Yes.
It was practically pack racing. It was practically like running a cup car at Daytona. It was two by two, 10 rows back.
Yeah. And flying on rails.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it was pretty much 140 laps of putting around for myself at the back, just trying to let the people wreck themselves out, which they did. And I found myself in the situation where I felt like I had saved the best. I knew I could make it to the end on those last 10 laps, pushing full out. And that's what we did. We put ourselves in the position, and that's what we teach all our guys on our team to do. Is all you can do is try to put yourself in the position at the end of the race, at the best position to at least give yourself a chance.
Yep.
You can't win the race on the first turn and all that jazz, but these are long races, so you just got to get there, and then you can and play the game. Well, like I said, that's what happened, and I was one of the 98% of the people who did not catch this. So I was racing all out. I had no thought of changing a tire compound. I had no thought of any of that was any possible. My thought was I just made it 45 laps on fuel. I can't believe we made it this far. Um, Gosh, there's no way that all these other people could have saved this much and be as fast as me right now. So I really did have the confidence, and I ended up racing a gentleman named Brendan to the line, and we really started battling with about 3, 4 laps to go. He had the inside line, and I had the outside line. We were pretty much 2 by 2 that whole time. And then this is when the whole stuff starts to unravel here. We get to the white flag. We're running down the backstretch side by side, and Brendan pulls off. He pulls off to the left and starts slowing down. And I genuinely thought he was out of fuel. I thought he had pushed it too much, and I knew I had barely just saved enough. I was either gonna run out. I was either gonna win or run out of gas. That was my mindset. So I knew everyone else had the same sort of mindset, and seeing him pull off right there was like confirming those thoughts for me. And immediately I grabbed the bottom line. The guy got a little bit of a run behind me, but his only option was to my outside, and we had a drag race to the finish line. And I can proudly say that I crossed the finish line on lap 150 first.
On merit. Yeah.
Uh, I was so happy. You could see that in our video. I'm rolling around the track. I even mentioned I've got enough fuel to burn it down.
Yep.
And as soon as I start doing that is when reality hit, and the DQ pops up on my screen, and it says for not changing a tire compound. And I think to myself, okay, wow, that's okay. That's obviously a bug. I I, I still won the race. I feel confident in that. I see that I'm DQ'd, but I'm thinking, okay, well, this is an over race. They all know better that you're not allowed to do that. It's even impossible to. So at first, I actually thought that everyone was going to get DQ'd,
Yeah.
like just everyone that was in the race.
Right.
But wording is very important. And when it says you must change tire compounds before the finish of the race or you will be disqualified, before the finish of the race is very important
Yeah.
because if you technically don't finish the race, you don't get disqualified.
Disqualified. Exactly.
So that's what Brendan did.
Yeah.
Brendan
And
had that knowledge. Brendan was in that 1 or 2% that knew or had that inkling um, of it possibly working and everyone possibly getting disqualified at the end of the race if they finish.
mhm.
So what he did was he pulled into the pits on lap 150, but then hit the tow button, and that credited him I believe, to my understanding, that credited him with like lap 149.
Yep.
He was credited with 149, but never technically crossed the finish line on lap 50, so that did not count. Since he was the first person to finish on lap 149, he was not disqualified, therefore declared the winner.
Yeah. Super messed up. Guys, I did make an entire video about this. You guys can head on over to our YouTube and check out the full video. It's about 7.5 minutes long. Um, Super descriptive as well, and also pulls up some of the clips um, from his point of view, basically. So, he's I'm literally like kind of making fun of it in the video, but he's literally like, in the beginning he's like, dude, we're good on fuel, like why would I pull into the pits? And then he comes to the realization everyone's telling him in his Discord to do so, and then he's coming around that last lap and he's like, oh no, oh, I am out of fuel, like just being super sarcastic about it, and just trying to be like, I guess, a funny guy. But um the
I
very
think, and what you said with the Discord thing is kind of where I had a little bit of a problem, which I'm not saying I didn't have those opportunities either. But what he did was, yeah, or what he had was people in other races that finished before ours go into his Discord and tell him that, no, if you finish the race, you will 100% get disqualified. So it was, wow, this is looking like a bug here. They might disqualify everyone.
but now, hey,
Um,
take advantage of it.
and then within the last 3, 4 laps, he had confirmation that that was a fact. So, with all that being said, I don't necessarily fault any of them. The top split, it happened in the top split. Um, Actually, another guy named AJ pulled the same thing off in the top split. He pulled off in the last lap and hit the toe button and got credited with P1.
Yep.
Um, so I don't fault anybody for doing it and trying it. I think that's in race car drivers' nature, to read between the lines and do what they think they need to do to win, and that's what they did, and it worked, and they it pulled off. They made it pull off or whatever. But what's unfortunate is that that is not true. That it is an exploit. That they exploited a bug in the game, and then iRacing pretty much their answer to all of this is to say that they're sorry.
Yeah.
iRacing
Yeah.
just wants to make it very clear that they are sorry that that they can't fix pretty much any of this. That they made a mistake, and they can't at least erase the results. And I think that that's what I think is the minimum that they could do.
Right.
Um, I don't necessarily expect to get first place points, but
I think if you wipe the points out across the board, that'd probably be the best.
I think that's the most fair, because if I was in their shoes and I was the one pulling off on the last lap, I'd be pretty upset if I'm being told that this works, but then the other guys get the points. Well, okay, I wouldn't have done that if I would have thought iRacing was going to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not fair to them to give me first place points
Yep.
and expect him to get 15th or whatever it would have been. But I don't think it's fair to leave the points as is. 120 points in this highly competitive series is 20 or 30 spots.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally,
and
man.
and that's what it went to. It went from about 200 points I would have earned to 80, and so I was shorted about 120 points. So
Hmm.
I would have much rather just had it wiped out. Now it'll probably just end up being my what they call your bye week,
Drop week.
your drop week. Thank you. Yeah, your drop week, and that's probably what it'll end up going to. But personally, for me, that's going to hurt in the long run, because I'm definitely a stronger oval guy,
Right.
and that showed, I think, there. And if I lose one race out of the whole year, I probably would have chosen it to be a road course, not an oval, and
Yeah.
I
Now
would try
you.
to maximize all of the ovals, and now I can't.
Yeah. Now you really have to show up and show out to the next ones. Yeah, that's kind of what I was telling my wife as well. Is like, I really had to prove a point at this past race, because there's also maybe a track or two that I don't own and I have no intention on buying, and I planned on using those as my off weeks. So now
Yep.
I have to buy them and I have to do
Yep.
good. You know what I mean? So it just changes the dynamic a little bit. And then also, just for context, I guess, is I did that race as well, that Wednesday night race, and I was in the split under AJ's, and I made it to lap 109 or 10 or something like that, and unfortunately, I ended up getting caught up in an incident, and that was my race done. Um, but so what did I go? 40 laps down, basically. But at the end of the race, I got credited with a P6 or a P5 and like 100 something championship points. So like, tell me how that is even like, and I don't even feel right taking those points. Like, that's the crazy thing, because I didn't earn them on track, you know,
Yep. You did not finish the race, so
and I got rewarded as if I did.
as if you did, and the four or five people that went longer in the race than you but still did not finish the race, that's
Yeah.
where that 4 or 5 positions were.
Yep. Yep. And like you said, you can't reverse the results or anything, but just take away the championship
You
points.
could They could at least take away the championship points.
Yep.
They could vacate it all. So let's just read Greg West's response to this whole ordeal, and then we
Sure.
can move on to this. Let's
Yep.
just remember how sorry they are.
Yep. Do you want me to
Uh,
read it or you?
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead. Yeah, he just
Yep.
said thank you all for the feedback on the timing and scoring issue that impacted the one GMT time slot. We have identified the technical source of the issue and have remended it for future time slots. To clarify next steps, unfortunately, we are unable to amend the results from last night's event. The nature of iRacing system doesn't allow for these recalculations without enormous waterfall impact. The results will stand as they are posted. Before I finish them, saying that they're so sorry. Okay, I rating, safety rating, 100% I understand. That is definitely something that is a can of worms that you cannot open up, and that is an agreed an enormous waterfall impact. However, a 17 race season, that is not that hard to annul
No,
points.
no.
It is making everybody in that race zero. Period. That does not affect. You can still keep your safety and your I rating. I don't understand how that is mixed in there.
Right. Or completely fucking delete the race out the system. I mean, there's a way. I mean, come on.
Fair enough. There is a way. There is a
There's,
way.
there's gotta be.
So they say. Then he goes on to say, "We sincerely apologize for this event and any frustrations it may have caused." Yes, lots of frustrations. We are looking forward to the next time slots and the rest of the series. I appreciate your understanding. Well, you need to understand something also, Greg West, is that there was a lot of people racing that Wednesday time slot because we were all doing Sebring on Saturday.
Correct. And that was taking up the rest of our weekend. Uh,
Yep, no chance to get another one in there. So, you
yeah.
know, one thing that I have seen them do in the past is, if they make a big mistake on an early race like this, they could even add an extra time slot. Like, you know what? Maybe we can't fix the scoring on here, but let's add a Sunday evening race.
Yeah.
That could have went a long way in our participation and our standings and our scoring than just living with what happened on Wednesday.
Definitely. Just real quick, guys, I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in with us this long. You guys are awesome, and we really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Um, if you have any questions or any topics of discussion you would like us to touch on at the end of this video, please drop those down in the comments. And towards the end of the clip, we'll that's kind of the thing we're going to be trying to do is talk about what you guys want to talk about at the end of the pod. So keep that in mind. Um, yeah, and then let's get this back over here. So yeah, big unfortunate whoopsie by iRacing that unfortunately costed quite a few people. And
Yeah. Well, let's end on
hopefully,
a little bit of a good note up for Auto Club because we do have a little bit of good stuff to talk about from Auto Club. We did manage to get in the Sunday night open race, which it wasn't the IndyCar Racing Series, but it was the open race last night, and Matt and I were fortunate enough to be in the same race. So that was fun to see two KAM Motorsport Indy cars out there at the same time.
yes, it was, and we were lightning quick too. At one point in time, we had gotten up there and we were like 2 seconds above everyone else, which isn't, I mean, a tremendous amount of time, but we were pulling away and we ended up like going the other way in strategy and started somewhat managing. I actually got taken out late in the race, which was super, super, super frustrating. But I managed to not get like any damage other than like a nose, and I was able to like go back out 10 or so laps down and fight and help, kind of trying to get this guy up into P1.
It
And
was you did your best, and we did our best, and we tried so hard to get that W.
we
Yeah,
did,
you still had a fast car after you got it repaired, and you
yeah.
were fighting for you're getting some laps back, but it was just a few too many to get back in the lead lap. But
Yeah. I think I pissed a couple guys off too, but at the end of the day, man, it's racing. So,
yeah, no, it is, and you have every right to still be out there and be fighting for positions, and I kind of really just used you, so to speak.
for sure.
You were generous enough to be out there and running those laps. You might as well be out there pushing as hard as you can. And when you do that, it allows the car behind to follow and save a little bit of fuel, and or get those runs and maybe play a little bit of leapfrog and try to pull away. And we did that for quite a long time, and it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun.
It was.
Unfortunately, I walked away with a P2 from there. It was pretty much a flip flop of Brendan and I. In that race, I had the inside coming to the line, and I think that's where you want to be because that's where this guy had me. There was a late race caution, and about half the field on the lead lap took tires, so about 4 or 5 cars back, they all had fresh tires, but the top four did not. They stayed out, and I was the leader, and I just figured, well, whatever I do, they're going to do the opposite. So if I stay out, they're going to pit. If I pit, they're going to stay out. So I just said I got to stay out. It's gonna. We got 3 laps. We got 3 laps on 26 old tires, maybe. And I had a good start, had a good lap or two, but 3 laps was just a little too long, and the fresher tires caught up, and he got the inside position, and again we had drag race to the finish line, and I was just about a half a car too short.
Yeah. Yeah. Auto Club is one of those tracks where you want to get up front and get low and stay low. Don't let anybody on that inside. Um,
A lot of
lot,
fun
lot of,
there.
lot of fun. Some good racing. The track is just set up so weird that um, it just brings a lot of good racing. There's quite a few different lines you can go through there, and it's a huge drafting track. So just yeah, all around good racing. Even though I got binned, I still had a good time. Um, yeah. So let's move right on to Sebring. The Sebring 12 hour this past weekend.
The KAM anniversary. Happy birthday, KAM
Yep.
Motorsports. We have made it 1 year.
Oh, hold on. There we
That's
go.
great. That's great. Yeah.
So,
We might be 1 year old. I'm not sure we were under the CAM flag yet for the
nope.
Sebring race, but we that was the birth, or at least the conception, the idea of CAM Motorsports was born at the 12 Hours of Sebring last year. So it was really fun to be partaking in it again. We have 3 cars
Yep.
partake, right? Is that right? Three?
Yeah, we had
Three
three
total.
cars. We had 3 cars running this. Well, yeah, three
Maybe
cars running.
some additional time slots were I think tried
Yeah.
too. I think
Yeah, so we originally were gonna we had, a couple guys running the Friday night split, a couple guys running the Saturday split. Um, I think one of our teams Friday night ended up running into some trouble, so they ended up opting for the Saturday split. Um, big shout out to all those guys. We'll start off with the GT3 team. So they ran the Friday night split. So that was Brendan Polt, Josh, and Neil. They ran a fantastic race. Scored a P2, got up into the podium positions. From what we were told, is they had the opportunity to win, but excuse me, had a couple mistakes or some damage or something come their way, a little bit of unluckiness, but they were still able to clutch up and get that P2. Our LMP2 team, the KAM
before we touch
Motorsports.
on that though, we gotta congratulate Morris too. He was part of that accidentally.
Oh, that is very true. Yes, 100%.
Big
Sorry, thank you.
storyline there.
Yeah, big storyline. So one of our, actually, he's not even technically a full-time driver here. He is more of a setup builder, developing driver, like he helps develop and all that,
The
and
cars. Set up the
um
cars.
set up all the cars and stuff. And um he had accidentally been put on the driver's list for this race, and they caught it with like well, maybe like 5 or 6 hours left to go in the race. And mind you, Morris has like a broken back or something to where he cannot physically get in the car and race. And this guy jumped in the car and pumped out 30 laps, and not just 30 laps, like clean, fast, stayed in position. He was super happy. He was like all ecstatic at the end of the race, being able to be a part of it, not just from the crew chief side of things, but being able to be in the car that he's been developing for this race. So I know that felt pretty good for them. So yeah, definitely a big congratulations to Morris. Another round of applause.
Yes. Yeah, big shout out to him and a big shout out to that whole team. That's their second podium
Yep.
of the year. Second as well in the IMSA so to speak, special iRacing events. I
Yep.
know a bunch of guys participated in Mount Panorama at Bathurst, but with this car, with that BMW three, well, I guess they raced that there too. But under the IMSA flag, they have two podiums in two tries, P1 and P2. It's pretty impressive what that team has been doing this year.
Yes, most definitely. I would say so far, I wouldn't say as far as like most successful, but they've had a lot of good luck, a lot of good working well together. They're collaborating. They're really, um, able to go out there and just put it all together. So it's got to feel pretty damn good, being Daytona 24 winners and then going out and getting a P2 at Sebring. Our KAM Motorsports number 069 LMP team, which consisted of TJ Forsyth, Marco, Lucas, and Aaron Stockton. So Aaron rode with those guys in the second trip, because their first race when they were racing with Lucas and not because of Lucas, they had ran into some issues, so they were ended up opting to go for that second time slot to have another try. They fought hard. They had a great race up until it wasn't so great. So unfortunately, not a great result, but they put in the results. They put in the work to get to that point. Um, and then that also brings us to the team that me and AJ were a part of, the KAM Motorsports number 69 LMP team. It was me, AJ. It was originally supposed to be me and AJ, but I had actually messed up and added another driver to the driver lineup, which was not a huge deal.
Yep, similar deal. I think with the Morris thing.
Yep, very similar situation. And it made a lot of sense at the end of it, but up until that point, me and AJ didn't even realize that we needed Bevan to run until like 8.5 hours into our race. We have 3.5 hours left to go, and we just now figure out like, oh shit, we accidentally signed up. I accidentally signed up another driver for our team, so now we got to get them in for 30 laps, um, which you know, uh, we ran a great race. I started off in the wets. I think we started P15, um, and it was very wet. Super, super, super stressful. I had never raced a race like that in my life. Um, and then also, mind you, we had just last minute switched from the GTP into the LMP2 class. So, kind of just all out of whack going into this weekend. But it started off great. Like we didn't get many positions at the start, but lap after lap, things started coming our way. Was able to really get confidence in the car, get the heat in the tires, and start making some overtakes. I think I handed the car over and we were in P5, I think. And then AJ took the car for 2 or 3 stints and he handed the car over to me in P1. And we pretty much rode like that for the rest of the time that we were in the car. Um, we had a really good race. I mean, I think,
Yeah, no, it was we definitely played, I think, most of the strategies right on switching to dries and wets and everything. I think we only had one time where we thought we may have been a little too early on the wets, but
or no, going on the, wait, was it the wets? Oh no,
no, it
it
was
was
going
the
on to the
wets.
wets.
It
That storm was
was.
coming and it sprinkled just a little bit, and then it didn't. It didn't rain for another about 5 minutes, and then it started to rain. So that was, I think, our only little hiccup.
Yeah.
But I think we hit all those tire swaps at the right time and driver swaps at that matter. It was very strategic by us to put Matt in the car. Matt had way better pace in the rain than I did. He was usually a second or two quicker than me in most practices in the rain, so it wasn't a hard decision to allow him to step up and start the race. I think I started for Daytona, so
Yep.
you definitely could take the reins, and I was excited for you too. I did not want the pressure of taking that car in the wet, at least that heavy of wet. Um, and then I pretty much got it in the dry, and the LMP2 cars are a car I'm very familiar with, not so recently, but in the past years, I have driven that car a lot and driven there in that car a lot. So I got it up to speed, I thought, pretty quick, and I felt very confident in the dry, and I had very good pace in the dry. So yeah, we pretty much took the lead and then just slowly started building it up, and then yeah, realizing that Bevan was on our team essentially was when he was about to go put in some laps for the that 5 man team that we were talking about, I believe, because he was taking part in another 12-hour race, and he said, "Hey guys, I think I'm signing up for yours too." And so, gosh, I can't imagine the amount of stress that you face when you hear something like that. You're like, "Yeah, hey guys, how you doing?" It's like, "Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're in the lead. We're got a couple of laps lead, and we're having a pretty good race." And you realize, oh man, I got to put in laps myself. This was not the plan, and
Yeah.
so I can't imagine, just getting in the right mindset and going, all right, I gotta take this car and go off. And unfortunately, just a lap down GT3 car was not so generous on a pit exit, and ended up collecting beefing on a pit exit there
Yep.
with about 4 hours to go, I believe it was.
3.5, or no, yeah, it was three. We
About
were
three and
like
a half,
right at
yeah.
the 9 hour mark when that happened, and I think that was very tough to handle. Just because we had literally played all of our cards so right, but I think I think that shed just a little bit of light on how new we really are to the team side of things. Because yes, we're very experienced drivers and stuff, but when that happened, I think, I was just so ready to throw the towel in. Like we felt like we had already won, by making every single decision correctly. Um, so just for a careless GT3 driver to be able to, wipe away every exciting feeling we had during, leading up to that was just very unfortunate. And then, I actually carried the mistake in with me. I didn't have so much of a level head when I got back in the car, and I was being too aggressive, as what it boiled down to. Um, and did it boil down to me hitting a guy? No, I did not hit the guy, but I was aggressive and I put my nose in, and the guy turned in on me. And then I think what really caused it was netcode kicked in after that and sent me into the wall. I don't even know where he went, but um, and at that point it was just like taking an entire 55-gallon drum of salt and dumping it right in the wound. Like that's kind of how it
Yeah,
felt. Um,
yeah, yeah. And
Hey,
it's,
thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday, um, pretty much same time. So we hope to see you back. Also, catch us this week for some racing. Someone was tuning in or logging off.
oh, well, thank you guys very much for tuning in.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it sucked. But I think what's most important is the what we learned from it. Obviously, being able to have all of that, and we preach and preach adversity, and that was probably one of the biggest things of adversity we could have been faced with. And we speaking personally, I probably didn't deal with it the best that I could have, but we are all human, and I guess that really shows like how young me personally I am into the whole team building and stuff, and how important it is just to keep the morale up, in big situations like that. So
Yeah, it is. It's, you put everything after another, it just shows how perfect you have to be. You have to be spot on everywhere, whether it's from, getting the rain tires and compound tires swapped, getting the drivers swapped properly, uh, finding the proper time on exit on pit road and where the other drivers are around you, or to even the signing up of the team and registering the drivers. I mean, it goes everywhere. If there's one mistake somewhere in that, that can mean, a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth place versus a win.
definitely. Yep. Sorry, I'm over here just like PTSD, you know.
No, man, I feel you. You
Yeah,
know, it was still a lot of fun though, and at the end of the day, that's why we do it. We were lucky enough to be pretend race car drivers, right?
definitely. 100%, man. We disconnected for a second. I think we're back. Um, yeah, we're back. Thank you guys for staying with us. Oh, that sucks. It's gonna restart the pod. Oh, that's okay. We are actually
Oh,
coming
it
into
did.
the
Huh.
yeah.
Oh well. Well,
Restarted
that
it,
was a
but
good cutoff though. That's
yeah,
good.
that wasn't bad. I mean, we are coming into the closing, segments of the pod anyways. So, um, yeah, yeah, we definitely put a lot of work going into Sebring. How we've been practicing Sebring since like December, really. You know, in between that and Daytona, a couple oddball practices at Sebring right before Daytona, and then pretty much after then, and then especially when the rain fell. Um, we got the rain update, and that was like nonstop practice in the rain, trying to test everything we could. Um, but we got the Nürburgring 24 hours coming up here in May.
Yep.
That should be a very exciting race. If I can talk AJ into racing, that would be awesome. But as of right now, it might stand as he's just going to be like the GOAT for crew chief.
I can be the GOAT crew chief all day for Nürburgring. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'll be partaking in that one.
Yep, that's okay. Nürburgring is going to be a tough one. Obviously, we're going to have to do. It's a good thing it's 2 months out because we need about 2 months of practice to be able to get, uh, all the sim time in that we need. So, got a lot of strategies, a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of rain to work through, a lot of puddles to figure out, and lines to figure out, and it's exciting.
That's right. And so in the meantime, we'll be doing a lot of IndyCar. IndyCar. Oh gosh, where are we at? We're going to Long Beach next with IndyCar.
Yep, very exciting. That one's here in about what 3 weeks, April 21st, I think it
Yep,
is. So ready to get back out there on the IndyCar. That is for sure,
that's right.
especially after this past week. So
Well, I think we touched on everything here, huh?
I think so, and I think we actually were right on the money for time. So about an
Hopefully
hour.
that cut can be smoothed out then.
Yeah, hopefully so. We're at about, not including our starting soon, we're at about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and
Yeah,
15
good.
minutes. So I think that's pretty solid. Yeah, good job. Anybody got any questions down in the chat? Now's the time. Speak now or forever hold your peace. No, I will not send pictures of my feet to anybody. Just so you know.
Oh man.
I lost.
Oh,
He was so lost for a second. I can't wait to clip that. He was like, "What?" Oh, that's awesome.
oh man. I just thought you might have just figured out my spam account.
Oh, okay. Figured out AJ's side hustle. AJ's the trophy husband.
My Smurf account on Twitch there. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we gave you something to listen to or laugh about or something.
Well, just to recap, we were up to 6 viewers at one point in time that I looked over here, so that's pretty cool. I'll take it.
All right, I will too.
So, yeah, guys, you guys can check us in this week. We will be doing some more iRacing, sim racing, just some of your typical live streams, and then you can catch us back here next Monday at, we'll say, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time,
You got it.
PM, for some more of the KAM Racing Podcast. But this will conclude episode 2 of season 1 of the KAM Racing Podcast. And until next time,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you. Everybody have a great evening. Peace.